Maple Street was the picture of suburban peace. Neat lawns and colourful gardens lined the street. Children played on sidewalks, their laughter echoing in the warm afternoon air. But at the very end of Maple Street, shrouded by overgrown trees and cloaked in perpetual shadow, stood a house that whispered of secrets. It was a Victorian mansion, once grand, now crumbling under the weight of neglect. Its paint peeled, windows were boarded shut, and the porch sagged wearily. Locals muttered tales of strange occurrences, whispers of a haunting presence that chilled the bravest of hearts. Yet to the Johnsons, new to town and oblivious to the whispers, it seemed like the perfect place to start their new life. The Johnsons, a family of 4, had stumbled upon the house while searching for a fresh start. John, the father, was a writer seeking inspiration. His wife, Mary, was a painter drawn to the house's faded elegance. Their 2 children, 10-year-old Sam and 8-year-old Emma, saw only an adventure waiting to unfold. Blinded by the promise of a new beginning, they dismissed the unsettling stories as mere local folklore. They were determined to make the house on Maple Street their home, unaware of the darkness that awaited them within its decaying walls. Excitement filled the air as the moving truck rumbled to a stop in front of the house. Sam and Emma dashed out, eager to explore their new domain. The air hung heavy with the scent of dampness and decay, but the children were too caught up in their own world of excitement to notice. Boxes piled up in the hallway, each one a treasure chest waiting to be unpacked. John and Mary, though exhausted from the move, shared a look of hopeful optimism. This was their chance to rebuild their lives, to create new memories within the walls of this old house. As days melted into nights, the family settled into a routine. John disappeared into his study, his fingers dancing across the keyboard as he wove tales of mystery and suspense. Mary, inspired by the house's melancholic beauty, lost herself in a world of colours and textures. Sam, ever the adventurer, explored every nook and cranny of the house, his laughter echoing through the empty rooms. Emma, however, couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. The silence of the house was often broken by creaks and groans, whispers of the past that sent shivers down her spine. The first disturbance came a few nights after they moved in. It was a low moan, a mournful sigh that seemed to seep from the very walls of the house. Sam, ever the brave one, dismissed it as the wind. Emma, though, felt a chill crawl up her spine. The next night, the moan returned, this time accompanied by the distinct sound of footsteps pacing in the hallway outside her room. Fear, cold and sharp, pricked at the edges of her courage. One night, as Sam slept soundly in the next room, Emma woke with a start. A voice, a mere whisper, seemed to float just above her ear. "Sam," it hissed, the sound chilling her to the bone. Her heart pounded in her chest, her breath catching in her throat. She crept out of bed, her bare feet silent on the cold wooden floor. Peeking into Sam's room, she found him sleeping soundly, oblivious to the eerie whisper that had shattered the silence. The house, it seemed, had secrets it was beginning to share. Days later, while exploring the dusty attic, Emma stumbled upon a forgotten treasure. Hidden beneath a pile of discarded furniture lay a small, ornate wooden box. It was locked, its keyhole clogged with rust and time. With a surge of childish curiosity, Emma pried the box open, her fingers trembling with anticipation. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a collection of old photographs and yellowed letters, tied together with a silk ribbon. As Emma carefully lifted the letters, a name scrawled in elegant cursive caught her eye. Evelyn. The letters, written in fading ink, spoke of a young girl, her laughter echoing through the halls of the house, her sadness staining the pages with tears. One photograph, more captivating than the rest, showed a girl with hauntingly familiar features, her eyes mirroring Emma's own. She wore a dress that seemed to belong to another era, her smile both innocent and tinged with a strange melancholy. Emma felt an inexplicable connection to the girl in the photograph, a sense of shared history that sent shivers down her spine.
The next day, she confided in her parents. They exchanged worried glances, but Mike insisted it was just a figment of her imagination. Yet, the more Emma tried to push it aside, the more the haunting presence felt real. She began to have vivid nightmares of the little girl, trapped and pleading for help. Days turned into weeks, and the haunting escalated. Sam started talking about an imaginary friend who played with him at the old swing set in the backyard. Emma watched in horror as he seemed to converse with someone invisible. One night, Emma woke to the sound of Sam giggling in his sleep. "Don't go away," he laughed. "I want to play." Panicking, she shook him awake. "Sam, who are you talking to?" "I don't know," he said, blinking sleepily. "She's nice. She has long hair." Emma knew who he was talking about. Desperate to protect her brother, she decided to confront the spirit. That night, she gathered her courage and stood in front of the mirror just as she had seen the girl. "Who are you?" Emma demanded. "Why are you here?" The girl appeared again, her smile fading. "I can't leave. We can't leave." "Who's we?" Emma pressed. "My brother. And me," the girl replied, her voice barely a whisper. The realization hit Emma like a punch to the gut. The family in the photographs, the children, they had never escaped the house. "Why are you trapped here?" Emma asked. "Because of him," the girl replied, her expression shifting to fear. "He won't let us go." Just then, a cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the light. A presence behind her, dark and overwhelming. The whispers turned to angry shouts. "Get out!" Emma stumbled back, her heart racing. She fled to her parents' room, shaking them awake. "Mom, Dad, we have to leave, now!" Mike rubbed his eyes, trying to understand. "Emma, it's late. What's wrong? Please, the house is haunted. The children, they need help." Lisa sat up, fear creeping into her voice. "What do you mean?" Emma recounted everything, the whispers, the girl, the letter. As she spoke, the shadows in the corners of the room seemed to stretch and move, the air thickening with dread. "We can't stay here," Emma cried. Reluctantly, Mike agreed, but not without checking on Sam first. As they opened his door, they were met with an empty room. Panic set in as they searched the house, calling for him. "Sam!" Lisa shouted, desperation in her voice. They rushed to the attic, knowing they had to check there. The door creaked open, revealing the dim space filled with shadows. And there, in the far corner, stood Sam, staring into the old trunk. "Sam!" Emma shouted, relief flooding her. But when he turned, his eyes were vacant, a smile plastered on his face that sent chills down Emma's spine. "I'm playing with her," he said, pointing to the trunk. The little girl's figure flickered in and out of view beside him, her eyes wide with glee. "Sam, no!" Emma screamed, rushing forward. But as she did, the trunk burst open, a gust of cold air swirling around them. The whispers became a cacophony, drowning out her voice. "Join us!" the voices cried. In that moment, Emma felt herself being pulled toward the trunk, her body resisting as she fought to save her brother. Mike and Lisa rushed to grab Sam, but the force was too strong. "Help!" Emma screamed, and just as she felt herself slipping away, a blinding light filled the attic. With a deafening crash, the old mirror shattered, scattering shards everywhere. The force of the light pushed back against the darkness, and for a fleeting moment, Emma saw the children in the light, their faces contorted in pain and longing. "Help us! Help us!" they screamed, but their voices faded into the darkness as the light consumed everything. Emma, Mike, and Lisa collapsed on the attic floor, gasping for breath. When they opened their eyes, the trunk lay closed, the air heavy with silence. Sam was back to normal, wide-eyed and confused. "What happened?" he asked. Emma looked around, fear still coursing through her. "We have to go now!" They rushed downstairs, heart racing as they flung open the front door. The house seemed to groan in protest, the shadows swirling behind them. They piled into their car, and Mike started the engine, glancing back at the house. Its windows seemed to watch them, a dark presence lingering in the doorway. As they drove away, Emma looked back one last time. The house stood ominous against the evening sky, but in that moment, she felt a flicker of hope. They had escaped, but she knew that the whispers would always linger at the edge of the woods, waiting for the next family to wander too close. In the months that followed, the Johnsons settled into a new home, trying to forget the horrors of Maple Street. But late at night, Emma would sometimes hear faint whispers carried on the wind, calling her name. And though she tried to ignore them, a part of her knew that the house at the end of Maple Street was never truly empty. It was simply waiting, biding its time, ready for the next family to unravel its dark secrets.